Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
And the ball is third and 4.
Okay, number one. And I know, well, by now I know everybody's number one, but Ace.
I know we know all the number ones. Yeah.
Ace.
For me, it's the Cincinnati Bengals, and I was just diving into some of the numbers here because it was pretty hard for me at least, when I was looking at just purely numbers, to decide between Pittsburgh and the Bengals. And I had to go back and look at it, and one deciding factor, it actually helped me uncover something. I think T. Higgins, I'm not going to say that he has the crown. I think that he's ascending for the crown of potentially the best receiver in the AFC North. Potentially. I'm not saying that he has it already. But one thing that surprised me was I didn't notice how good of a deep receiver that he was, because he's not really known for his speed. He got pretty much killed for his speed last year and his separation ability. The last thing that I expected, and I actually ended up finding this out from Madden, he was top 5 according to PFF, in deep receiver grades, which I kind of found kind of crazy. They also had Deontay Johnson up there. Deontay Johnson was slightly ahead of him at 96.2. He was at 95.1. And then when you look at him on the short, he's also extremely high on that. He was 95.5. The only place where he didn't really show up was across the middle, and I think that this was with 50% of the snaps or something like that. He just wasn't on the list at all. In the line of scrimmage, he was 78. But he also was just amazing for Bengal standards. I mean, you guys see that I have this guy behind me of A.J. Green. T. Higgins was on a path to actually end up breaking A.J. Green's rookie receiving record the first year. He ended up falling, I believe it was about 60 yards short. And it's even more impressive when you go back and look at it. T. Higgins didn't play in the first 2 games of the season. Ended up having a very similar season to Deontay Johnson, which was up there. So he was very solid that year. And then also he had some other numbers that kind of stood out to me. 13.6 yards per reception, 8.4 yards per target, 936 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. And this is a guy that missed 2 games. He also had to play with Ryan Finley. He also had to play with Brandon Allen at points in this game. And so he did all of that, and he also had 36 less targets than Deontay Johnson as well. And then you also have Tyler Boyd as well, who's been a solid slot receiver for the past 3 years. If you're looking at just, back-to-back years, Boyd in the slot has graded higher than Juju, according to their PFF grade, 3 years in a row. He's one of the top receivers in terms of the slot position in the league, and Boyd is just a guy that you can pencil in there. He did have a slightly down year. I think he was hurt at some points last year, but I expect Boyd to return to form. He really had a great connection with Joe Burrow, which was crazy. There's even that pass where Joe just throws it out. Tyler Boyd isn't even looking at it, and at the last second, he turns around and makes the catch. And he completely dominated the middle. He had a 98.1 receiving grade across the middle in the NFL, according to PFF. So he dominated there. You also talk about Jamar Chase. You can't have a conversation about the Bengals without talking about Jamar Chase. And I get it. Yes, he is a rookie. But you look at what he's done before he even came into the league. You're talking about 21 yards per carry or yards per reception average coming out of LSU. LSU has put in some good receivers into this league. You talk about Odell Beckham Jr., you talk about Jarvis Landry, you also talk about Justin Jefferson. They put some solid DJ Chark, who I didn't even know came from LSU. They put in some pretty quality products into the NFL. And then you just look at him as just an athlete. Production score from Next Gen Stats, 89 production score, 99 athleticism score. I was surprised that he ran a 4.3. I didn't expect that. The Bengals haven't had something like that in a while. And then his draft score was a 99. You look at his combine profile from NFL.com. He's rated as a Pro Bowl talent. I don't think that he's going to make the Pro Bowl because that's just a tall order to ask, especially with him playing in the receiving core with 3 other talented guys. But I kind of liken him to a CeeDee Lamb. He's going into a similar situation. I think that he could end up having a pretty productive season. He's projected by some to actually finish with 1,000 yards. I'm not sure if he's going to get that, but that's just where the projections are at. And then when you just look at this core, T. Higgins is 22 years old. Jamar Chase is 21 years old. Tyler Boyd is 26, and Auden Tate is 24. And when you look at that, it's hard to say, just taking the Bengals out of it, if you were to start a team, how would you pick another young core 3 over that? I mean, there's probably some out there, but that's a pretty good young core to kind of start. And even if you're in the fantasy and you have a dynasty team or something like that, those are probably T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are probably high on your rankings on that. And so for that, I think that the thing that I like about Jamar Chase, he plays physical like an AFC North receiver should play. We didn't have that in John Ross. John Ross didn't fit the AFC North. But Jamar Chase is a guy that plays physical. He's going to jump up and grab balls. He's going to do his thing. The other thing that I can't hold against him as a rookie is he's playing in the same offense that he played in college. As you know, if you've been following the Bengals, when Joe Burrow was drafted, they added about 10 to 15 plays from the LSU offense into the Cincinnati offense. I think that that's easily going to allow him to assimilate into the NFL. They're working on some of his weaknesses, which is actually coming off too high at the line. They're already working on that today. Apparently, they're working on that more than the deep ball. That's one of their focuses. And then he gets to catch balls from his college quarterback that he last played with, which is Joe Burrow. So it's a unique situation. Whereas if we were talking about Devonta Smith, who I was a huge fan of, I even went as far as to say I felt that he was better than Jamar Chase in some aspects. But the situation that Devonta Smith has and maybe even a Jalen Waddle has compared to Jamar Chase is not the same. It's almost kind of crazy how this has even happened, that he's not only playing with his former quarterback, the last guy that he caught balls from, he's also playing in the same offense just in the NFL. That's not to say I don't think that he's going to have a 1,300-yard receiving season or anything like that. I actually think that he's going to fall secondary to T. Higgins in terms of where they end up at the end of the season. But I think with all that said, that's one of the reasons that they're my number one. I also forgot to mention T. Higgins also tied Chris Collinsworth's rookie reception record for the Bengals. So he also tied that as well. But for those reasons, I have to project the Bengals to finish number one.